Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodhanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda Shri Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranithai, 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 Jaya Gauranithai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. So today we are reading from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter Haribol, chapter 6, entitled Dhyana Yoga, and we're reading text 11 and 12 today. So if you can find it on your phone. That's Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, entitled Dhyana Yoga, and then texts 11 and 12. So I'll read the verse, and then line by line we can repeat line by line, and then maybe someone from the assembly can also say the verse, and then we'll do word for word, and then translation and purport, and then we'll discuss. It's 11 and 12, Dhyana Yoga, chapter 6. Sucho deshe pratisthapya Stiram asanam atmanaha Natya uchritam nati nicham Chailajina kushotaram Tatraikagram manakritva Yatha chitendriya kriyaha Upavishyasane yunjad Yogam atma visuddaye Sucho deshe pratisthapya Stiram asanam atmanaha. Nati uchritam nati nicham. Chailajina kushotaram. Tatrekagram manakritva. Yatha chitendriya kriyaha. Upavishyasane yunjad. Yogamatma vishuddhaye. Suchodeshe pratisthapya. Stiram asanam atmanaha. Nati uchritam nati nicham. Chailajina kushotaram. Tatrekagram kritva. Yatha chitendriya kriyaha. Upavishyasane yunjad. Yogam atma vishuddhaye. Suchodeshe pratisthapya. Stiram asanam atmanaha. Nati uchritam nati nicham. Chailajina kushotaram. Tatrekagram manakritva. Anyone else would like to repeat? Sorry. Okay, we can go into word for word. Sucho, in a sanctified. Deshe, land. Pratisthapya, placing. Stiram, firm. Asanam, seat. Atmanaha, his own. Na, not. Ati, to. Uchritam, high. Na, no. Ati, to. Nicham, low. Chela ajina, of soft cloth and deerskin. Kusha, and kusha grass. Uttaram, covering. Tatra, thereupon. Eka agram, with one attention. Manaha, mind. Kritva, making. Yata chitta, controlling the mind. Indriya, senses. Kriyaha, and activities. Upavishya, sitting. Asana, on the seat. Yunjyat, should execute. Yogam, yoga practice. Atma, the heart. And Visuddhaya, for clarifying. And translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground, then cover it with deerskin and a soft cloth. The seat should neither be too high nor too low, and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities, and fixing the mind on one point. Purport. Sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, the transcendentalists, or the devotees all leave home and reside in sacred places such as Prayag, Mathura, and Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Haridwar, and in solitude practice yoga, where the sacred rivers like the Yamuna and the Ganges flow. But often this is not possible, especially for Westerners. The so-called yoga societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefit, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in the Brihan Naradiya Puran, it is said that in the Kali Yuga, the present Yuga or age, when people in general are short-lived, slow in spiritual realization, and always disturbed by various anxieties, the best means of spiritual realization is chanting the name of the Lord. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam, kalo naste, vanaste, 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 gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Itam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. So, just to repeat again, we are reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, and it's texts 11 and 12. And so, in the previous verses, Arjuna is on the battlefield and he's distressed, and he's distressed based of family merits. He's attached to his family, therefore he doesn't want to fight in this war. And so Krishna is slowly talking to Arjuna, and actually Arjuna first of all accepts Krishna as his teacher, as his guru, and then slowly Krishna is imparting wisdom onto Arjuna. And so in chapter 2, first of all, Krishna highlights that, ultimately we're not the body, that we're the soul, and that when the body is slain, the soul lives on. So in that way, he's kind of pacifying Arjuna's worries and distresses. And then in chapter 3 and 4 and 5, Krishna goes on to explain Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga as systems of connecting back to the Lord. And now in this chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, also it's called Ashtanga Yoga. He's highlighting the process of meditative practice as means of connecting to the Lord. And so this is about kind of controlling the mind and the senses and focusing our concentration on Paramatma, the super soul within. That's the form of the Lord situated in the heart. And so like this, Krishna is going through the process of Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. And in this verse, he's now talking about how one should go to a secluded place, a sacred place, and can kind of set up a asana, a seat, not quite like this one, a bit of an old-fashioned one, where you lay some kusha grass and some deer skin, and you make sure it's not too high, not too low, and then like that. So if we break down the verse, we can see Sucho Deshe. So Sucho Deshe means like a purified place. In Sanskrit or Hindi, like they would also call it a tirtha sthan, which is a place of pilgrimage. And so Prabhupada mentions some of those places, like Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Haridwar. And many of such places, one is advised to go there and begin their yoga practice there. And so the idea is that these yogis, they used to kind of withdraw from material activities, they used to kind of disappear, and it's not just something that you can do especially this form, at least Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, not something you can just do kind of on the way to work, your 20 minutes to work in your car, or your 20-minute walk. You have to really kind of, it's a really ambitious effort. You have to go to a forest, a secluded place, and then kind of practically set some kusha grass down, some deer skin, and really, really go deep into meditation. It's a lot more demanding, a lot more ambitious. But this yoga practice is something that ultimately enables us to be free from kind of material entanglements, material attachments, and rise to kind of the transcendental platform. These places were very sanctified places. Sorry. Very sanctified places they would go to. Very quiet places, secluded places. And you can imagine, like in a place like this, you'd only hear like the river flowing, you'd only hear the trees, the wind going through the trees, and the birds chirping. Very, very peaceful place. And for example, we have Prayag, Mathura, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, Haridwar. These places, of course, nowadays have become very commercialized, very built up. But as you might imagine, back in the day, even when Prabhupada was around, it was very kind of peaceful. I think I've heard some description of even the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. They used to just be like peacocks walking around the temple, walking behind the temple, like that. So they're very peaceful places. Sucho Desha, places of kind of spiritual culture. And so the yogi kind of would go there and get the benefit of being at this spiritual place. And then we look at the next line. Sucho Deshe Pratishtapya Stiram Asanam Atmanaha. So asana means, you might be familiar, asana, so literally means a seat, and stiram is a firm seat. So one should just find a suitable seat. And the yogi, they would kind of, back in the earlier ages, in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, the longevity of life was many, like hundreds of thousands of years, and then slowly degraded. So when a yogi was kind of setting up camp, so to speak, he was planning on being there for a while. So the seat had to be suitable. So he would find a good seat, firm seat. And then next line, natya uchritam, nati nicham. So it can't be too high or too low. I don't necessarily know the significance of it being too high or too low. I guess, maybe you can look into it, but I personally don't know. Maybe I can look into it and get back to you. Then the next line, Chailajina kushotaram. So they'll put down the sacred long grass, the kusha grass, and deer skin. And so this was your kind of traditional asana, much different to this one here. And so what is the point of all of this? Like putting all of this effort, going into a secluded place, a sacred place, where no one's there, very quiet, and then getting a kusha grass, a deer skin, and then what is all the purpose of this, all of this work? Krishna says, Tatre kagram mana kritva yata chitendriya kriyaha. So tatra kagram mana kritva is to make the mind one-pointed. So generally our mind is like very all over the place, right? It's restless and unsteady. The mind is working so fast. They say the mind is quicker than the wind, and the thoughts are more numerous than blades of grass. So it's very restless and very unsteady. So the business of the yogi was to make the mind one-pointed, to focus on one thing. And as they say, where energy goes, where attention goes, energy flows. So the yogi would kind of really focus on one thing, and in that way kind of all their mind space would go there. And so there's the example of Arjuna and Dronacharya. Dronacharya used to teach all of the Pandavas and also Duryodhana. And one time Duryodhana, he kind of overheard, or I think, I can't remember, but I think he assumed that Dronacharya was favoring Arjun as the best student. And so Duryodhana, he kind of accused Dronacharya like this. And then Dronacharya set up a test for all his students. And he gathered all the students outside, and he set up a wooden, it's a famous story, a wooden bird on a tree. And he called up each student one by one, and he said, shoot the tree, but before you shoot the tree, I want you to tell me what you see. So Duryodhana, he came up and he says, was it Duryodhana? Let me check. Oh, he first called Yudhishthira, the eldest of the brother, and he said, what do you see? And so Yudhishthira replied, I see the wooden bird, I see the branch on the tree, and the leaves are moving, and the other birds. And so then Dronacharya then sent him away. He said, no. And then he calls the next brother. He says, okay, what do you see? And they all basically come one by one, and they're saying the similar kind of thing. They see the bird, they see the tree, and they see all the leaves, and they see the sky, and they're seeing a lot. And then they call Arjun. And then Dronacharya calls Arjun. And Arjun, when he's asked, what do you see? He says, I can only see the eye of the bird. And so Dronacharya smiled, and then he says, okay, now you can fire. So this is what I'm talking about when the yogi is having one-pointed attention. They're only focused on the goal, very specific and very direct. And so in the next few verses, it's mentioned what exactly is that one point. And as I mentioned, the goal of Dhyana Yoga is to meditate on the super soul within, the Paramatma aspect of the Lord within. So that's the one-pointed attention is going to. They're trying to meditate on the super soul within. Then the next part of the verse, Yata Chitendriyaha. So it's to control this. The purpose of setting up all of this stuff is to control the mind, the senses, and the activities. And so there's a famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita. It says, one who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws his limbs within the shelf is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So, Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki. So the yogi is able to withdraw his senses when necessary and control the mind. We're not enslaved to our senses. There's Godas and then Goswami, Godas and Goswami, right? So Godas, servant to the senses or master of the senses. So the yogi is able to withdraw his senses and in that way control the mind. And then the next part of the verse, Yogam Atma Vishuddhaya. So Yogam Atma Vishuddhaya is for the purpose of clarifying the heart, for making the heart and mind very, very pure. So the yogi is only thinking about the goal of spiritual life, and in that way he's making his heart very, very pure. But as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, for Westerners, this practice is very, very difficult. To leave home and find a sacred place, a secluded place, a quiet place, it's extremely difficult. I mean, even in India, you can go to all these places, but now all of these places like Vrindavan, Mathura, as I said, they're very commercialized. It's not like you can go to disappear in a forest. And anyways, most people aren't even equipped to survive in forests. And then secondly, the second point is that, which Prabhupada highlights in the purport, is that he says, I'll just quote directly actually, he says, one who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. So I was looking into kind of studies of the mind and seeing, well, why is it so difficult for people in general to focus their minds? And there was actually a famous study that was done in 2023. And this study actually revealed many crazy things about the world, and most of us probably already know, but I'll just share some statistics. So the study revealed that the average human attention span, actually we can actually put it out there, why don't we guess? We can put hands up. Guess what the average human attention span is. Okay. You're kind of around there. So it's 8.25 seconds, which is crazy. It's crazy. And it's 4.25 seconds less than the year 2000. So it's going down. We're going downhill. And guess, okay, now I'll ask you another question. Guess what the attention span of a humble goldfish is. 20? Yeah. It's 9 seconds. So the goldfish has got us beat. So we're completely living in the age of distraction. The mind is unable to focus on things. Actually, there's some other statistics. The average person picks up their phone more than 1,500 times per week. So that's once every 6 minutes. And the phone takes up an average of 3 hours and 16 minutes of someone's day, which is crazy. And do you know how much data everyone's being bombarded with every day? 70 gigs of data is going into your head every day, whether that's social media or billboards or people around you. We are being completely overwhelmed with data. And I was doing a lot of research. There was another study done at King's College, and they said for most people, when they're distracted, their IQ drops by 15 points. And so when someone's IQ drops by 15 points, that's the equivalent of an adult coming to the level of a child. So we're completely in the age of distraction, completely in the age of degradation. We're unable to control our minds. It's quite clear. Even I experience when I'm in the ashram and I'm trying to read, that I have my phone next to me, and most of the time I'm just like kind of reading one line here and then 30 minutes of attention on the phone. So completely distracted. And people they just can't sit and concentrate, right? They can't sit and focus. So this is the situation in the world today. The minds are too agitated, and therefore Arjuna says to Krishna, Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadridham tasyaham nigraham manye vayor eva sudushkaram. He says, the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think it is more difficult than controlling the wind. And then Krishna says in response to this, Asamshayam mahabaho mano ardurni graham chalam abhyasena tu konteya vairagyena chagriyate. He says, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So in this, Krishna is accepting Arjun's point. He says, yes, I agree, it's very difficult to control the mind. It is absolutely difficult to control the mind. But then he says, you can control the mind by practicing detachment. And so in this present age, you can see that no one is observing kind of strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in like a secluded place, in a sacred place. We can't really do that. Therefore, Krishna says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgathenantaratmanaha shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. He says, of all the yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is highest of all. That is my opinion. So basically what Krishna is saying, that yes, all of this is kind of difficult for us in this age of distraction, and therefore the practice of bhakti yoga is better. And then in the chapters 7 and 12, he goes on to highlight the process of bhakti yoga. So Krishna is basically saying the bhakti yogi who always abides in him, who always worships and renders service unto him, and with great faith, he is the best of yogis. And so by practicing Krishna consciousness, by practicing bhakti yoga, one can engage in the 9 processes of devotional service to the Lord. And the first and foremost of such devotional engagements is obviously hearing about Krishna. And so this is the most kind of powerful transcendental method of purging the mind of all of these misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. And so by detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn vairagya. So vairagya means to kind of means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. And so this is the best means to engage the mind, as highlighted by Srila Prabhupada in today's purport. He says, the best means of spiritual realization is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatiranyatha. He says, in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. So this is actually, I was listening to a class by Satyananda Maharaj, and he had this analogy. He says, if you had a chest full of clothing and you leave the clothing for a long time, eventually the clothing will kind of deteriorate, it will kind of rot. So you must take them out. And same holds true about your thoughts. Same holds true about how the mind functions. That if you never act on your thoughts about spiritual life, your thoughts will eventually spoil and turn bad. You're only on spiritual path if you're able to translate your thoughts and feelings into actions. So this is the process that we kind of it's reframing our minds. This pratipaksha bhavana is the idea of framing our minds, that we're taking out the negative, that we're completely distracted, we're completely restless, but we can bring in the new narrative. We can bring some new conviction, a new approach and a new frame of mind by chanting the holy names of the Lord, and in that way, cleanse ourselves. I just wanted to say one more thing. I just need to find it. Oh yeah. Okay. So I was in lockdown. I was part of a kind of a Krishna book sangha. We would read Krishna book together, and there was one devotee. We were reading the Kaliya pastime where Krishna kind of jumps on the hoods of Kaliya and is dancing on the hoods. And one devotee, I thought it was relevant to kind of what Prabhupada is saying here about the chanting of the holy names. He said that when the same way Krishna is dancing on the hoods of Kaliya, he's kind of pacifying Kaliya, and slowly he's slowly pacifying Kaliya. In the same way, when we chant the holy names of the Lord, Krishna is dancing on our tongue, and he's pacifying our tongue, and therefore he's pacifying all of our senses slowly, and in that way we can control our mind. So yeah, that's a little bit about what I wanted to share. Maybe we can open up. We've got a few minutes for discussion, maybe some questions. Jeho. Vishal? That is a good question. Maybe. So Bishal asked, why is the mind so distracted? Why is it so restless? What's your take? Right. Yeah, like the same way, like the tree, the reflection of the tree in the water, the reflection of the tree in the water is just a reflection of the reality. So the reality is that the soul is desiring true love, but the perverted reflection of that in reality is that we're now kind of covered, we're desiring all these other things. Maybe, is that what you're trying to say? Yeah, also like the senses are super hard to control. The horses, as Dev Rishi Prabhu highlighted. But that's why we have to tame the senses by carrying out devotional service, and by chanting the holy names of the Lord, by hearing, engaging all the senses in devotional service. That's why kind of staying at the temple is the best program, even morning program. We're seeing the deities, so our eyes are being purified. We're hearing kirtan, so we're hearing Srimad Bhagavatam class, so our ears are being cleansed. And then we're tasting Krishna Prasad, we're smelling kind of the flowers offered to the Lord. So in that way, all of our senses are being pacified. So being at the temple is the ideal means of kind of controlling these restless senses, this restless mind. Any other questions? Panchatat Prabhu? Yeah. Yeah, so the point Maharaj is making, I'll just pull it up again. He says, if you have a chest full of clothing and leave the clothes for a long time, eventually the clothing will rot. You must take them out. Same holds true about your thoughts. If you never act on your thoughts about spiritual life, your thoughts will spoil and turn bad. You're only on spiritual path if you're able to translate your thoughts and feelings into actions. So I guess that my take on that is that you kind of walk your talk. That we have all these thoughts in our mind, but it's no good unless we act upon them. That's the only true way. I mean, there is power behind intention, but even greater power when it's followed up by action. So when we're desiring to serve the Lord, yeah, that's good. But then when we act on that, that's even better. And so when we don't act on those thoughts, I guess they just stay dormant in the mind, and then slowly, as we've been doing, I guess speaking for myself, as I've been doing for many years, it gets covered, and then we get distracted. The mind is also working as quickly, so we're going to get distracted, and all those desires are going to get covered. So that's my take. Maybe some other devotees have something. Yeah. So Dev Rishi Prabhu was saying, like, when you turn on a kettle on and off, and then you heat it up, and then it cools down, then you heat it up again, and it cools down, that you loses it is as if it's not being heated at all. It's just staying cold, so it becomes pointless. Actually, there's a quote that I really like by Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu. He says, "If your conduct is below par, do not publicly preach about the Lord." Bhajan really begins when one's inside and outside are the same, something like that, right? You might be familiar. So the idea is that when we're consistent, when our actions and intentions are consistent, that's when we're truly practicing bhajan. That's when we're truly practicing devotional service. Like that. Vishal. Hmm. Therefore, Krishna, before speaking this chapter, in chapter 4, he talks about Jnana Yoga, the process of gaining knowledge. So first we gain knowledge, and then we can determine what is right and wrong. And so we can differentiate between good thoughts and bad thoughts. And then we can also go to Guru Sadhu Shastra, we can inquire and see, consult these three things and see what is right, what is wrong, like that. So Jnana Yoga, that we gain knowledge about the Lord, we gain knowledge about practicing devotional service, and then in that way we can determine what is right and wrong. Yeah. Any other questions? Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. I was waffling.
Come here. Are we? कुत्ता बेशक बन जाएगा।
कितना साल रहा दूंगा
Are we come here?
No, we can't do this. Uncle बोलेंगे हाँ we have to do like this. Like this.
टोकरी वाला, ठीक है? फुट मत खोलना।
Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radhe.
Radha Gokul Jaya, Radha Gokul Jaya, Radha Gokul Jaya, Radhe.
Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Bhagwan ki, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai. Shiva Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kashobha. Shiva Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kashobha. Janavi Tatavane Jagamana Lobha. Tatavane Jagamana Lobha. Dakhine Nitai Chan Vame Gadadhara. Dakhine Nitai Chan Vame Gadadhara. Nikate Advaita Shiri Vasa Chakradhara. Boshe Ache Gora Chande Ratna Simhasane. Boshe Ache Gora Chande Arati Kasho Ratna Simhasane. Arati Korena Brahma Adi Devagane. Adi Kori Kamaradula.